All right, ladies and gentlemen, the hype is obviously very real right now, man. Everybody's buzzing about Halloween, the video game. I think ever since it's been announced or revealed, I should say, or even before that, even whenever, some of us had speculation that this was the game in progress, everybody's been buzzing about it. But now that it's here, we know it's coming out. Everybody's pumped. And we've been getting more and more information every single day regarding this game. And of course, today we have some new news to share with you, and as well as some other things to talk about regarding the game as well. So let's dive into it. So coming right out of the gates, guys, we're going to start this thing off with the best news of the day by far, and quite possibly the best news of this entire thing so far. One thing you can always say about IllFonic and Gun both. When it comes to their horror games, they are authentic. They are as authentic to the source material as humanly possible when it comes to these games. You think of the likes of Friday the 13th, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Predator Hunting Grounds, Ghostbusters, even Killer Clowns from Outer Space. They like to stay as authentic to the source material, and they even bring back actors that have played roles in these games that they've made, and that left us wondering, is this going to be the same for Halloween? Well, we have great news that we found out today, guys. The OG himself, the Michael Myers from the original film, Nick Castle, will be reprising his role in this Halloween video game. I am in total disbelief still. I did not think that was going to happen, but it's true. He is. It was just announced moments ago. It says Nick Castle returns as Michael Myers. Although it may be slightly different than the one he wore in the film in 1978, Nick Castle put back on a suit to deliver the iconic walk, movements, and kills, as only the OG Michael Myers could. And what is just one of the many ways Compass and IllFonic are striving to bring the utmost authenticity to this game, we wouldn't dream of having anyone other than Nick bring this character to life in this new digital realm, and we're thrilled he was eager to participate. So there you have it, guys. Again, like I said, IllFonic and Gun always knocking it out of the park in terms of authenticity with their games. Now, you could say whatever you want about both companies. Obviously, myself and a few others have some, opinions. But one thing I don't think that can really be debated is their authenticity to their horror projects. So there you have it, guys. Nick Castle. My favorite news of the day. As soon as I saw that he, saw him in the motion suit, man, I got super excited. So there you have it, guys. And now, another topic I want to talk about too. Obviously, the news with Halloween the game, and of course, Gun and IllFonic getting back together, to work on this game. There's been a little bit of disruption in the community regarding who's spearheading this project. Who is, in full control of this project. And of course, as we know, IllFonic a few years ago became a self-publisher as well as not just only a developer. Back when they worked with Gun on Friday the 13th, they were solely a developer that Gun hired. Now, they're also a publisher. So, IllFonic is going to be publishing this game and developing this game alongside Compass Interactive. Now, it has been, at least to my knowledge, Gun has just came on the project just a few months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, to do some marketing and also do some publishing for the game. So if you want to know who's really working on this project, who's making it all come to life, for the most part, it's IllFonic. So, a lot of folks, are on this, boycott Gun, type thing right now because of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I assure you guys, Halloween, the game, is not the game to do that. This is a beloved franchise, one of the greatest, arguably, I guess, I always have to say arguably, one of the greatest horror franchises of all time. You can argue that the original film is the greatest horror film of all time. Mount Rushmore type stuff we're talking about here, guys. This is not the game to boycott. So on a little bit of a better note here, guys, I want to talk a little bit about some of the gameplay. So we did talk about before, everybody knows that Halloween the game is going to be a single player and a multiplayer game. But there's going to be, obviously there's going to be a lot of questions asked about this. Obviously, it's an asymmetrical game. How's it going to work? Are you going to get away from Michael Myers and escape like you do in all of the other asymmetrical games? Are you going to run out and, and leave or immobilize them? How is this going to work? Well, it's going to be a little bit different, I think, than every other asymmetrical game. And this comes from Bloody Disgusting in their interview with IllFonic themselves. And they do mention that we've tried to emphasize stealth on both sides of the killer-survivor dynamic. For Michael, it's about stalking. His mechanics revolve around quietly observing in the shadows and biding your time to get the best possible kills. You see, there will be NPCs inhabiting the map, living their lives and going about their various October 31st traditions. Your job is to pick them off. So not only are you going to be going after these human survivors, you're also going to be going after the NPCs as well. And I want to touch a little bit further on this after we read this, guys. They do say, meanwhile, the other players will be sneaking around and trying to alert those civilians to your presence, just like in the teaser trailer we showed. Plus, we've got the cops and Dr. Loomis adding an extra wrinkle to proceedings. So if the Michael player isn't performing well, he'll have to deal with extra resistance, and there are a lot of interesting situations that can arrive from that. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, I like to hear that. Expanding upon this point, Garretson said, most other asymmetrical games are about escaping, but that's not the ultimate objective for the Survivor players here. Instead, you're trying to stop Michael's rampage and save the town. You can eventually end the match and spectate, but the goal is always more complicated than merely run around, loot, and escape. We think that makes it feel new and interesting. And in my personal opinion, guys, I think it does too. So in a nutshell, guys, I mean, that's not a lot of information, but it is enough to kind of get a gist of how this multiplayer is going to work with Michael Myers. You want to make sure you're getting the job done, getting these kills in, but you also want to make sure you're doing it correctly. You want to be able to play the game like Michael Myers would in the films, or there's going to be consequences. And for the Survivor side, you want to make sure you get these NPCs out alive, at least it seems. You want to make sure you get as many of them as you can out alive as well. And this brings me back to a little bit, guys, of some of IllFonic's other games. It actually makes me think of Ghostbusters, surprisingly enough. Ghostbusters was similar in the same way that, it was an asymmetrical game, and in these matches, it also had NPCs, where you as the Ghostbuster, would alert these NPCs, there's trouble going on, trying to calm them down, because they're all freaking out, you don't want them to run out of the building and run away and things like that, as the ghost, or the Ghostbuster. But I have a feeling the mechanics are going to be somewhat similar. Also, I believe in early development of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it was going to be a similar thing going on there too as well, but I think it got scrapped. But either way, this does seem to be a fresh take on the asymmetrical, kind of the asymmetrical mechanic that we've seen in all of these other games. And another big thing, this is going to be warm to everybody's ears coming in right now, right off the bat, day one. Halloween, the video game, will have not only a single player and multiplayer mode, but it will have the multiplayer mode available offline to where you can play with bots. So if you don't want to go in and play against real players, but still get that full ASIM experience playing as Michael Myers, you'll be able to go offline with bots. Now, one thing I noticed with every IllFonic game where they have offline with bots is that if you decide to play single player offline with bots, you can usually only play as the killer, or if you play as the survivor, you won't have a killer. So let's see if that has changed this time. Let's see if we can actually get an AI Michael Myers if you want to play offline as a survivor. So there you have it, guys. That's our news for the day, man. Nick Castle returning as the Shape, the Boogeyman, the OG Michael Myers. We're going to see Nick Castle in the game, reprising his role. Also, some of the single-player, multiplayer mechanics. Of course, as we find out more of these mechanics, I'm sure we will, leading up until the game's release. We'll talk about it here on the channel. But, guys, I am super pumped. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, man. How do you feel about this game? How do you feel about the asymmetrical side of this game? Because we know a massive portion of the player base coming to this game are probably coming from past asymmetrical games, including Texas Chainsaw. So we'll see how it goes. Let me know your thoughts down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for all things horror and Halloween content. We'll see you guys on the next one.